till shade is gone,
till water is gone,
into the shadow with teeth bared,
screaming defiance with the last breath,
to spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
by my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shyle Ghul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Dagger for Sightblinder. May you find shade this day. And you too, Sarah. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy that this show keeps getting better, and thank goodness.
Like our show or the Wheel of Time show?
I don't know if our show could get any better. I think we've just hit our peak. It's kind of downhill from here, unfortunately.
Oh man, you're selling it.
I mean, yeah, we're totally just right now we're scraping the bottom, right? Like we'll just keep getting better, though, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I'm selling it in a terrible fashion, but
doing a bad job.
Yep. Well, as one might expect from, the person who's coming from a show that I am that I'm doing a bad job of announcing for, or, anyways.
Getting there.
Yeah, we can move on. We can move on. I'll tell you what, you had such a terrible opening for the last one. I just wanted to make you feel better this time.
Rude. Oh man, that was savage.
There we go. We got there we go. I feel better. I'm free now. I can do better. So while Sarah's recovering from this situation that she's currently in, we can there are a few different things that we want to plug for this channel in order to keep us growing and everything. We've actually been getting some good attention lately, just in terms of downloads and everything, but we can still continue to climb. We're actually currently on Podbean. If you just hit that follow button, it really helps us, guys, because there are, I think, 8 or maybe 10 podcasts that are above us right now, and we're like number, I forget if it's 8 that are above us, then we're number 9, and if there's 10 that are above us, then we're number 11. Like, we're right there. If we just need like 10 more follows, and then we'll be on the top of that list. So please do that. Please leave reviews on iTunes. Would be really helpful. Then there's also, in the show notes, you can find a link to our YouTube channel. You can actually watch us talk and do all this stuff. Usually our YouTube post comes out a little bit after the initial publishing of this of the actual podcast, but if you prefer an actual visual element to this discussion, then YouTube is available, and it eventually does appear there. Just hit that sub button to help us with the algorithm and whatnot. Likes and comments also help, but we're not really pushing YouTube that much anymore. And then let's see, the Discord server is also, we're starting to get more and more conversation there. People who are not just Galaxy of Heroes aficionados and followers are also coming to talk to us about the book, and we have a section talking about the book, about the books, tons of different spoiler-free areas. If you want to talk there, we could talk about the show we're talking about. I don't know, actually, you and I haven't had that conversation, but I keep intending to ask, should we make a book versus show comparison channel within our Discord server?
Ooh, that could be good. It could be dangerous. It
might be. Yeah.
That could spiral.
Well, it's funny. Like, you're pretty active in all the chats. You're pretty responsive, and that's awesome. The one that you're not in, which is totally fine, is the overall book spoiler channel.
I've muted it.
And you should, because you like, there are sometimes I'm like, I really hope she doesn't accidentally click on here, because there are some just ridiculous spoilers. But if you're new to this Discord server and you don't want those spoilers, you just don't sign up, and then it's not even an option to click on it. So
yeah, like I should say the only reason why I've had to mute it is because like we're the server admins, so we see everything.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
Right. So, but otherwise you would not see it. So
yeah. So anyways, what else? What did I miss? What things did I not pimp?
Ratings,
supposed
reviews,
to say pimp?
Please don't. Let's just scrap that from your vocabulary. I don't think you missed anything. YouTube, Discord, we're good.
Look at how thorough I am.
I know. Like a pro. Didn't mess it up at all.
Right. Well, I was fairly shockingly rude to you, apparently. And that was, I don't know. You guys can let us know in some form on the Discord server or whatever. Was I too rude to Sarah there? Was that just like so off-putting? Like, come join our Discord server. Let me know. I tend to be Team Adam. I mean,
yeah, you're very biased.
It just seems like that was okay, but I mean, maybe people have differing opinions, and I'll listen with an open mind.
Right. I feel like, I mean, we should probably give them the full picture and let them know that I told you I butchered our intro before we started recording.
You did. I actually didn't notice that you butchered it. I didn't think you did. So I was just...
You're not actually this mean to me most of the time.
Right. I just stick handled it up is all.
Oh. So. That's not how you use stick handle. Okay. Moving on. What do you want to talk about? You're learning. You will be a Canadian.
Narrator. He wouldn't. Hey, look, he actually said something good for once.
Oh, what a nice narrator.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about the show first, and about a lot, like, so you found a good article, right? About
I did.
Why there's going to be 5 different like why they changed things basically in the show compared to the books. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, people are talking, they don't like the hand motions from Aes Sedai all like synchronized when they're and guys, I should just say right now, if you haven't watched episode 4 yet, you're gonna get spoiled. That's just gonna happen, and that's gonna happen right now. So earmuffs for those of you who don't want to hear it. But when they gentle Logain, they all use the same choreographed movements, and people don't like it. I want to talk about that a little bit. And then what are we talking about for the book?
So the book, we are going to go into chapters 26 and 27 of Eye of the World, which is Whitebridge and Shelter from the Storm. And this pretty much puts us right where episode 4 was.
Nice. How many chapters are there in Eye of the World? Do you know, just off the top of your head?
I'm pretty sure it's like 59 or something like that.
Oh yeah, so
at
some point we might need to pick up the pace. I don't know, guys. Like any show with. Oh, go ahead.
I said I lied. It's 53.
53. Okay, that's close enough. That's in the same ballpark. I don't feel like you were that inaccurate.
Okay.
Yeah. See how gracious I actually can be.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Continue your train of thought before I rudely interrupted you.
It was really like very distinctly un-Canadian, but so like any content creation, like we love doing this. It's a lot of fun, but we would benefit greatly from feedback. So there is actually a channel on our Discord server that talks about the show discussion, like discussing our podcast show. Maybe I should rename it to be a little more clear, but we would love to hear feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Just be respectful. Like we want to hear what do you want to hear from us? What kind of things would be really fun? What things are we doing well and we can build? So that should we go faster in the books? Are we covering it too quickly? Do people want like a 1 chapter every week kind of thing, which is not going to happen, by the way, but or do people want, like, should we be moving more rapidly? Because right now this is pretty slow. Like we're reading faster than we're discussing.
Right. Because I'm in book 3. You finished book 3, didn't you?
Yeah, I left some of it out though that I'll go back and read once I think you're there. So
okay.
I'm reading Ender's Shadow right now.
I know. Sorry.
It's pretty good. No, you're good. I'm excited. I'm just excited to get to book 4. I love book 4. So
I know.
But I want to read book 4 at the same time you are. So I'm waiting, and I'm being patient. Actually, this is me. This is my patient face.
It wasn't. All right. Yeah, so let's do those 2 chapters. And yeah, then I guess we can decide if we want to pick up the pace.
Yeah. And we'll even do our most annoying characters, our Mac.
Yeah,
we'll talk
our
about
Mac.
the Mac. Yeah. That'll be
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm interested to see who your Mac is going to be here today.
I'm interested to see who I pick as well.
I don't know who I'm going to either. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So let's start with the show. So again, spoiler alert if you have not seen episode 4. Right?
Yeah. Or 1, 2, or 3 for that matter.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I feel like in order to talk about Nynaeve, I actually want to talk about this article that I read first.
Sure.
So basically, this article was talking about why the show has differed from the books. And I thought this was really interesting because this was something that you've brought up. This is something that's been brought up in our Discord server. And in the books, also spoiler alert, if you haven't read the books, the Dragon Reborn can only be one of the 3 boys. Like it's either Matt, Rand, or Perrin. And that's the way it shakes out. And this whole thing in the show is now, there are 5 options for the Dragon Reborn, and they're bringing in the girls and all of this stuff that's got people up in arms, basically. Anyway, so this article was quoting the showrunner who was doing the adaptation and is a fan of the series and all this, and he was basically explaining, and I agree with him on this, and I can understand why he did this, and it's exactly what I thought. He's trying to keep it so that you basically in book 1 you kind of have a feel for who the Dragon Reborn is going to be, and then it's pretty much confirmed once book 1 is over. Not like really confirmed, but it's basically confirmed. And he wanted to kind of keep the audience guessing. Where every time you're meeting a character, you're constantly asking when you're watching the show, could this be the Dragon Reborn? And then because you're constantly guessing as to who it would be, you're also more invested in the character development of all those different characters. So now you want to know what's going on with Rand, you want to know what's going on with Matt, you want to know what's going on with Perrin, you also want to know what's going on with Nynaeve and Egwene, so that as these character developments happen and their stories develop and they, spoiler alert again, eventually break apart, you're still invested in them as characters, regardless of if they are the Dragon Reborn or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's one of the problems in a show like this, right? Where we start with a ton of characters. Like there's Matt and Rand and Perrin, and Perrin is married, and Matt has his sisters, and Rand has his dad, but then there's also Egwene, and Egwene has Rand and her parents, and there's like there's all these, and Nynaeve is there, and Moraine and Lan and Lan's butt, and like all these different things that, and there's Trollocs and Myrddraal and random people getting axes thrown through them in the middle of merrymaking, and it's just so much to take in. I would imagine that, so for you and I, we read the books, we were like, oh, I know all these characters, like I like them, and I spent like 6 hours reading about them at the start of the book. So like, nice slow introduction, Robert Jordan can do that really well, just sort of slowly bring in all these different characters. But in the show they can't. They're just like 1 hour and we're leaving Emond's Field.
Right.
How are people going to be invested in these just random people who only have a few minutes of screen time each, because there's so many characters to share them with? And so it sounds like something that, like, you and I don't talk a lot about this because we're both coming from the angle of we've never not read the books. Like I didn't quite say it that right, but that was what I started to say, and then I was like, it'll be a little bit funny because people can see how badly I botched it. But the idea is, you and I read the books, and so we don't have to worry about the introduction, but the showrunners have to worry about, there's probably like 95% of the people watching it haven't read the books, and how are they going to be connected to these characters?
Right. And like, I don't know about you, I've had so many conversations with people, like particular like coworkers and friends and things like that, who have not read the books, have seen the ad for it and are interested. And I kind of just gave them like a quick synopsis of what I know so far that the series would be about. And all of them have been like, oh yeah, that sounds like something I would watch and be interested in, but they haven't read the books. So they have no idea what they're getting into. Right. So you need that to pull people in and hook them.
It's true. Yeah. So I kind of, I like it. Plus, I mean, I've said this in the last one, the last podcast that we had, I don't think the bonus one, but maybe that one too. I do think that it's like one of the really cool things about this story is we get to experience, like, this is a different turning of the wheel. If you want, like, you can sit here and tap your foot and get all pissed about all these changes that they make, or you can decide to be okay with, like, you can look at it as, this is just a different story, and it's actually canonical. Like, it's part of the canon of this world, that, like, all these things have happened before, all of them will happen again, like this, it just keeps happening. And we get, this is just one version of what, these events are. And so, like, I can kind of embrace it. Like, other times it hasn't been a question of if there's going to be a male or female dragon. This time, why can't there be? There's nothing that says there can't be, just because the books say it.
Right.
So maybe they will. I still think it would be tough for me to handle if they choose the quote unquote wrong person.
Right.
To be the dragon. We'll bridge that gap when we get there. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like that would change a lot of I mean, again, I'm only 1/7 of the way through the books, as we've learned, but I feel like that would change a lot of the core of the story if you changed who the Dragon Reborn is.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it would. So I think that they benefit a lot from having a ton of source material. Honestly, like, that they already have 14 novels and a 15th, I guess, if you wanted to use the prequel one. There's at least some important things from that you can kind of take. But I do think that in general, they're going to benefit a lot from that. And if they're like, okay, we're gonna make this character the Dragon Reborn instead of another one, like, suddenly the new character is doing all the Dragon Reborn stuff, and then the old one, it has to do like somehow do other things, and it would spiral the whole, like you'd basically be throwing out all of the source material that you had. And I just can't see them wasting it, like,
right.
and not to mention they're fans of the series, like they want to see the same general story. They just have to revisit it, rediscover it in ways that are more practical for 1 hour segments. I mean, this is 8 hours of show trying to smash in,
Right.
What's the book total listening time? It's like 30 some hours, I think.
The first book is 30 hours.
And they're throwing in some elements, they say, of book 2, and even like a couple little things from books 3 and onward. So
I mean,
and a lot of that, like they can kill a lot of that with just description and not actually having us listen to what Perrin is thinking.
Poor Perrin. But I mean, okay, so if you stick to, let's say they're going to do 8 seasons, because that's the rumor, and you stick to 8 episodes at 1 hour each per season, that's 3 seasons theoretically within a 24-hour period, right?
Sure.
So you would be done all 8 seasons theoretically in less than 3 days.
You could like binge watch them.
Binge watch in less than 3 days worth of time, right? Because my math is adding up. Whereas the entire series, if you listen to it on Audible at 1 time speed, like a proper human listens to Audible,
like a good person,
like a good person,
like a person who's going to heaven, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't speed that up. It takes over 19 days to get through the whole season, the whole series
of just straight, like
straight, like if you do not stop at all and just hit play and go from start to finish, it's over 19 days.
Gosh, and this is
so
my
like
fourth
just digest that. Like you're taking over 19 days and theoretically putting it into less than 3.
Ooh, I have something to talk about that we didn't discuss in the last one.
Okay.
They have a new audio version.
Yeah, I showed you that.
You came up, you found it, so credit to you for sure. But I just needed to spit it out. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. It's all completely Rosamund Pike, like the Moraine actress, who's doing it, and I don't know. So, I mean, I've walked my children to sleep with the sound of Michael Kramer and Kate Redding reading those books so much, like that. I would guess that even if they don't know the names of the voice actors, like I bet that on some like really important fundamental level, my children would recognize their voices.
Guaranteed.
And so for me, it's just too personal. I'm like, she can't replace them. The current version is too good. And I know that you've expressed like a little dissatisfaction with the narrators in the past. How do you feel about them now?
I actually like the narrators a lot.
You like them now? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was just like getting into the pacing of it or what the deal was. It felt very robotic at first, and now I feel crazy for saying that it felt robotic because it doesn't feel robotic at all. Like I think they both do such a great job. Yeah. I meant to tell you that I had changed my mind on that and I forgot.
Well, and I was like, okay, she can. I'm like, okay, Adam, she can have a different opinion than you. It's okay.
It's rare.
But deep down, I was like, she can't. But I needed for my own sanity though to just be like, okay, she doesn't like him. That's fine. I'm just not going to bring it up.
Right.
Because it's so silly. Like I feel so emotionally attached to their performance because so they've done all of the Wheel of Time books. They've also
Mhm.
done all of the Stormlight books, which are like my very favorite book series in the whole world, by Brandon Sanderson. They've done, I think, like Michael Kramer's done the majority actually of all of the Brandon Sanderson books. So
Right.
like they've been a very important part of my life, and you know, so
Right.
having them replaced so callously by some random actress who's only done one season's worth of Wheel of Time.
Well, and so the thing that I don't want to say it bothered me, but the thing that I noticed with that was that because you're having her narrate it, you're making Moraine the main character of the story. That's like how I interpret it. Maybe I'm interpreting that wrong, but
Right.
you're now
Well,
making her the main character, and I don't think that's valid. As
well,
much as I like Moraine, I don't think she's the main character.
well, right. Like the books certainly don't show her as the main character.
No.
They have taken a lot of pains to, like, in all the trailers and stuff, they showcase her, and maybe that's part of that's just like trying to land such a really great talent for the
Right.
show. Like maybe that's just like, look, we'll make you the main character, and she's like, okay, like, and you'll give you an audiobook to read, you know.
And I mean, I know that Lord of the Rings did that as well. They released an audio version that was read by,
Oh,
I'm totally
Elijah Wood.
blank.
Elijah Wood,
No,
Frodo.
no, it wasn't Frodo. I'm totally blanking on the author or on the actor's name now. I'm
I
pretty
thought
sure
for
it's the
sure
guy.
it was.
Maybe he did one as well, but they did another. If he did, there's another one that I'm pretty sure was the actor that did Golem, I want to say.
Andy Serkis.
Yep, that's the one.
Oh,
Yeah. Did you know this? I just assumed you would know this. I just assume you know
no.
everything.
Oh, that's a good assumption, but that seems safe. For,
Yeah,
you
right?
know, if we're being honest, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. No, no, but really, like, it's what is they're gonna do with like there's nothing at all wrong with the book covers. I really like them. I like
Mhm.
having Nicolas Cage on the book cover. I don't know if you've ever looked closely, but there's one of the Emmons Fielders on Eye of the World. Well, if you zoom in, like, it just looks like Nicolas Cage's face.
Does it?
It's really fun. It's just fun. Like, me and my wife always chuckle at it, but because we have the hardbacks, and you know,
Right.
anyways, but they're gonna change the cover of the novels, and that,
Oh
like,
yeah.
they've got to make money, and this is another way for them to make money. It's one of those things that I, on a personal level,
Hmm.
it kind of just hurts me. I'm like, I don't, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I I don't know. I'm not going to get it probably. There's also, for those of you, like, this is something that I have to tiptoe around very, very carefully, to avoid spoilers from the books and everything. But uh, it also creates a problematic situation of, like, will Moraine be able to, like, do every single audiobook and have it be as well received? Like, if could she do all 14 or 15 of them? Like, there is at least there's a couple different events that happen in the future that involve Moraine, that make her audio narration a
Mhm.
little bit like, I wonder how well it's going to be received in later books. I guess I have to try to tiptoe around it as much as I can. But
That makes me wonder if she will narrate all of the books or if they'll do like a cycle. So maybe she's done the first one and the actor that does is playing Perrin will read the second, and you know, Egwene does the third, like something like that.
well, that would be interesting.
Hmm.
You have to think that not all of them would be very good at it, frankly.
Right.
And
Right.
audiobooks, like, for me, it's some of it's just like the therapeutic, like Michael Kramer's deep voice is
Hmm.
just very soothing and very, like, some actors are so dynamic and crazy and cool, and I would think that they would be terrible at narrating an audiobook, for me at least, for what my personal preferences are.
Right.
So whatever. That's a good insight though. Maybe we get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a really roundabout way of finishing the article that I found. But yes. The reason why I brought up the article though was because at the end of episode 4, when we spoiler alert see Nynaeve's power, it does throw her in as an option for the Dragon Reborn. Like that's, basically what's happening. Whether she is or is not is to be seen. It could be a distraction for the viewers, right? To see another, look shiny over here type thing. So yeah.
True. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how all of this goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
But yeah. So the one other thing I want to talk about the show real quick. Sorry, are you okay with this moving on?
Yeah. I want to hear your thoughts on this because this is something that I don't know about.
Yeah. So everyone's gonna have their own opinions. People don't like the choreographed. Everyone's like moving, and like she's like I don't know, like they're casting spell kind of, but it's all synchronized. And I guess my thought of it, at least, is I kind of liked it because it demonstrates like the White Tower. So in the book, this isn't really a spoiler necessarily, but like in the series, they every once in a while will reference like, oh, like they use hand motions to cast their spells, kind of like that's how people perceive it, but weaving the one power there, it's also very clear, like they make it clear that the people using the power don't need to use the hand motions. That's just like a way that the White Tower has kind of traditionally taught people how to do it, and then once they've learned how to do it, they can't not do it that way. Like it's kind of like you learn how to do one thing one way, and then you always do it that way with the power. Like you can't unlearn it, really.
Okay. Yeah.
So in this case, like I think it's cool because it demonstrates the White Tower teaches all of them in the same blanket way how to do that thing. And so they're all doing the same power, and they all just have to it shows the White Tower's methodology, and then it sets up the stage for later in the show, that when we see other channelers from other places and they're not doing that, it'll make a bigger distinction between Aes Sedai and the other groups.
Okay. Yeah. I follow what you're saying. That seems to make sense to me. So in this episode, we see them do that. And is that just like not really addressed in the books then, that they kind of do it all like in sync sort of?
So they don't really stress that they do that all the time. Like it's not the main focus for sure. Like they sometimes they'll talk about how like, oh yeah, like I don't need to wave my hands to be able to do this stuff. But I think that they don't really stress that they're always waving their hands and stuff. There's just every once in a while an oblique reference from a different group of channelers who's like, oh, what, like Aes Sedai, why do you even do that? Why do you teach your people how to channel with your hands? Because you don't need to. It's like kind of this disparaging, like, oh, this is kind of archaic and unnecessary,
like looked down upon or something.
Yeah, like as a channeler, imagine if you could use a power with just your mind, and then you saw someone like flailing his arms in the air and doing the same power. You're like, what are you doing, dude? They're like, I literally can't do it any other way. So
that's how they were taught.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Well. And plus, I will say one other thing about it is it could also be a function of they all joined, like they all now I'm forgetting what the phrase of it is, but they all link. That's what it is. So they're all linked. It could just be that they all kind of are like they're all doing the same move, that Leandrin, who's the leader of the Link, like she's the only one who can be channeling at that point. They're all holding the power, but they're all in a way just a conduit for her. She just becomes an ultra powerful channeler. It could just also be that she's controlling it, and therefore
they have to.
Yeah, like they're just kind of puppets on a string a little bit.
Yeah. So like if she does a specific hand, if she were to break the hand movement, theoretically they all would break it.
Yeah. And maybe it would still work if one of them was like tied to a chair for some reason. Maybe it would still work as a conduit, but I don't know. Like they're telling a different story on how channeling is done, and I'm interested to see what other ramifications this channeling is going to have.
Interesting. Okay.
One of the benefits of having a visual version of Wheel of Time is we can actually see some of the stuff that he doesn't focus on the hand motions. They just every once in a while reference that it happens. So
right.
That's fun. Ish.
Well, I'm intrigued.
Well, good. You should be.
Okay. Any other show notes or anything you wanted to go over before we move on?
No.
Let's get into the book.
Yeah, let's do it. Because
these two chapters I noticed specifically when I was like, when I was picking what we were going to talk about. I noticed that they tie into episode 4 really nicely. So yeah, which is wild because this is basically halfway through the book.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, we're basically halfway through book 1 and, we're halfway through the first season. So I'm a little concerned we need to pick up the pace.
Right. Well, it's an interesting thing. Like they last episode, they basically just like pushed the pause button and let us breathe, which is really nice, actually. Like we needed, it was just like, let's move. We're going to this place. She's sick. All these are separated. Bella disintegrates. All of these things, and then we can finally rest. Of like, okay, we're like, no one really moved that much. Honestly, like
right.
We barely got anything done with all the different, like Tom just is probably gone for a long time and that's it in the show. But it has an interesting function of with our glacially slow progress through the book of chapters 26 to 27 now, like we've been able to keep pace with the show for now, and then the show's going to outpace us next. I'm sure episode 5 is just going to go way faster.
Right now, I'm concerned about what we're going to skip. So, not concerned, but curious.
You can be concerned.
I can be concerned. We'll see.
You can do what you want.
We'll see. Okay, so let's talk about chapter 26, which is Whitebridge, which we didn't really see Whitebridge in the show, I don't think, at all.
No, we didn't.
Because they never got on the boat.
Right.
So
yeah, they kept talking about how they're going to try to get to Whitebridge, but yeah, like it's clearly a place in the show, and maybe they're going to end up there, but that's not. We might never see Whitebridge at this point.
Right. So in this chapter, it's basically all Tom Rand. It is. I shouldn't say it's basically. It is all Tom Rand and Matt. And they are arriving in Whitebridge. They're getting off the Spray, which is Captain Demond's boat that they've been on, which they're not on the show, but that's fine. And basically they're in Whitebridge. They're still trying to get to Caemlyn. Very interestingly enough, Domon is talking to Tom, and he doesn't want them to like leave the boat. He wants them to stay with him, and he gives them back their money or their fare that they've paid him, which is really important because now we have those coins back that Moraine gave the boys.
Do they get the same coins? I thought that they said like they didn't actually get the coins back. They got
They
other
note
coins.
they note later on in the chapter, Rand notes that the coin is missing.
Right.
Which Tom says it's in case they get separated. So it's kind of insinuating that Tom actually has the coin. That's how I read it.
I think that they just didn't get, I think he just didn't get a coin. Like he got, I think that if I remember right, he got like the same, Bail Doman wasn't trying to cheat them out of their coins.
Right.
But like they plopped their coins in his palm or whatever, but then he gave them a different coin, and like essentially Moraine just was gonna have to find them without the coins, essentially.
Oh.
I think that's how it actually happened, if I remember correctly.
Because Tom does talk to them and he says that they don't have it as a, like when Rand says like we don't have the, he tells, like he notices that they don't have the coin. Rand does not have the coin that Moraine gave them, and Tom says it's in case they get separated as a way for Moraine. I read it that way. Maybe I'm totally off base.
I just don't think that Tom knew about the power. I maybe I'm just misremembering it. It's been a little bit, but not that long. I think that like, because Tom doesn't really want Moraine to find him anyways.
Right.
Like, right. Because he keeps giving him advice. In fact, they go to the tavern a little later and he's like, why don't we just go somewhere else? Like, why don't you boys go with me to Ilion?
Yeah.
Right.
So
like he says, like, doesn't he give him like the little spiel? He's like, we don't have to go here, like to Tarvalon. We can just do our own thing. Like, why do we have to be beholden to Moraine?
So he in this one is telling them to keep a low profile, which doesn't work because everyone notices that Tom's a Gleeman anyway.
Right.
They go to the inn and they actually are talking to the innkeeper in this one about what's going on in the town, and the innkeeper's talking about there's a new hunt for the horn and there's all this stuff, and that they are since they're trying to find, Egwene and Perrin and all, and Nynaeve and everyone, they're asking the innkeeper if he's seen these people, and this is when the innkeeper gets all like freaked out and basically says that there was this guy that came in the week before asking for the exact same description, and he freaked out everyone in the town, and the guys and Tom know that it's a Murdral that's been in there looking for them.
Right.
Yeah. And this is the whole thing where the Fade shows up in the square, and we finally get separated from Tom, which is exactly where the show left off, except that it was on the farm.
Right. Like they combined some of the story.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, like and you see more of Matt. Like, he's like, why should we go with you?
He's super pessimistic in this chapter.
Right. Well, and kind of just paranoid of like, we don't owe you anything. Like, why are you being nice to us? Like, I'm suspicious.
Which Rand notes and picks up on, like, that is something that I notice, is that he is really paying attention to Matt's attitude. But we also learn about Tom's nephew in this chapter, Owen.
Oh, yep.
Yep. So we learn all about that and why, Tom's kind of looking out for them, and how, his nephew got into some trouble with the Aes Sedai, and because he, channeled.
Right.
So it's definitely it feels like a very jam-packed chapter. Like, there's a lot that's going on. They like, you start the chapter on the boat still. You haven't actually docked in Whitebridge, and then you dock, and then you're going through the town, and then you're at the inn, and you're trying to figure out how to get to Caemlyn and all this stuff. And they actually end up rushing out of the inn in this chapter because there was a Somebody was on the boat that got escorted off, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But he starts kind of like he ends up in the inn, and he is running his mouth essentially to the people in the inn, and he names Tom, Matt, Rand. I can't remember if he names Doman as well, but he names the three of them as dark friends. So they have to that's why they scramble to get out of the inn, and then the fate is in the square.
Right. Well, because he was on the boat with Doman, and when he was asleep at the watch, and so when Rand and Matt and Tom all jump on board, he was asleep, and he could have told him about the Trollocs. He didn't he didn't put out an alarm, and so Doman is like, well, you're pretty worthless to me. Why should I?
Right.
Why should we have anything to do with you? At the second we get to Whitebridge, you get your pay and you're gone. And then the rest of the crew ostracized him, wouldn't talk to him. And then he shows up in the tavern and he's like, yep, those guys are dark friends because I'm bitter and I hate everything about them. Like
a real nice guy.
Yeah, real unpleasant. There's actually, this book actually has some of the least pleasant people in it. Some of the people that Rand interacts with, especially, are like, yuck.
I believe that. Totally. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. And it's almost the same as the show. The setting is different, but the actual, flow of Matt being paranoid and them noticing. Tom's looking out for them. Tom tells them about Owen. Fade is there, and now,
Yep. And
Tom is gone.
Tom sacrifices himself, and one other thing. I mean, I guess it's not that big, but Whitebridge is named because there's just this huge white bridge that some other previous age had constructed, and it's just made out of the power, and the rest of the town's just built around it, but it's this big, majestic, amazing thing of just proof that civilization used to be better than it is now.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I knew that's why it was named, but that's a good take.
Just, yeah, I mean, it's made by people who can make beautiful things, and everyone's there's a cool town around it, but they couldn't make the rest of the town out of the same stuff as Whitebridge. So,
So, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, it's you go to someone's house and you're like, wow, you have one really, really nice decoration and the rest sucks. What happened? And it's oh, well, this is an heirloom from,
Right.
My family used to be rich and now we don't have anything, but we still have this one cool memory of, better times, kind of.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I do remember, is it Tom or Doman that tells them about the bridge being built from another? I guess it doesn't really matter who tells them.
Sounds like either one of them could know that. Doman has some good knowledge of that. He actually comes into play in book 2 a little bit, but
he does.
So Tom sacrifices himself seemingly, and they skedaddle, Matt and Rand, and we're off to the next chapter.
Yeah. So chapter 27, Shelter from the Storm. So now we're going back to Perrin, Egwene, Elias, who's not in the show, the traveling people. I really enjoyed this chapter. Mainly, nothing really happens in it. It's just a very slow chapter, which is great because the chapter starts with Perrin complaining about how slow the traveling people move, and he wants to, speed things up. I think he wants to leave. I think he just wants to cut and run. If I'm remembering correctly, because I know Elias explains to him that they're going to stay, and he doesn't really give an answer as to why he's going to stay or why they should stay. Other than that, he has learned to trust his gut. I don't know if that is he's learned to trust his gut because he's, out in the wilderness by himself with these wolves or whatever. Is this like a wolf brother thing? Like is Perrin, or is he telling Perrin to like, pay attention to your gut instincts? Like this is your gut instincts are going to tell you what to do and whatnot. I don't know. It was just very interesting the way that it was all handled.
Yeah, like the way it was all stick handled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyways, the
Twice.
I we'll get there. We
Mhm.
might not, but I do think that in this case it's just Elias saying like, out of all the experience that I've had, like not everything could be explained. Like you can't, your rational mind isn't going to pick up on everything. So every once in a while, you just have to trust your instincts. And so I don't think it was a Wolf Brother thing as much. I do wonder, like, if Perrin wants to split off or not, because he's pretty nervous about the wolves. He doesn't know what to think about them yet. And it's kind of nice for him to have some space from them right now.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that you saying that I just remembered. Mm-hmm. Perrin notes in this chapter that Elias walks kind of like on the outskirts of the group, and it's almost like he's loping, like he walks like a wolf would, how you would think a wolf would. And he notes that the traveling people are very graceful and like they're just walking slowly and calmly. And it's a really nice, I thought, like visual juxtaposition of these two vastly different groups just working together and going in the same direction and traveling together, but also being, so different.
So one of the things that I liked about the whole interaction between Elias and the traveling people is Elias says a lot of stuff like, I don't like the Tinkers, or they I make them uncomfortable, I don't want to be around them and all this stuff. But then Perrin also notes that Elias is enjoying getting some cooked food. He's there's a lot of things that Elias seems to be enjoying and appreciating about his situation that he's kind of just he's not communicating to Perrin, because he wants Perrin to think certain things about him that, maybe they aren't actually true.
Well, and it's also interesting because he's saying he doesn't like them and he doesn't want to be around them, but he has enough knowledge about them to maneuver their ways so effortlessly that Elias has clearly been around them for a while. Like he knows what to do, what to say, what the deal is here. And you only get that knowledge through experience.
Right. Like he's clearly, he values things that he won't even like, he's kind of like just not being even honest with himself. He's like, yeah, I don't like the traveling people. Like they're just peaceful idiots, and I don't like people in general. But then like he's clearly like, he's helping Perrin and Egwene. And then he's also like hanging out with them, and they know him by first name, on a first name basis. They're like, oh, will your friends be joining us? Like clearly referring to the wolves, like basically saying like, don't let them join us. That'll be with us. But yeah, like it's an interesting, he's spent a lot of time with them clearly. So
yeah,
it's not telling us everything about what's happening.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Is this the one that Perrin gets like all the Tinkers like dance for him and stuff, and he gets all bashful?
Yeah, it is. I was gonna say this is the one where like Egwene says she wants to learn the same dance, and Aram is all like, yeah, like arrogant and alpha male and just being Aram. Awesome. Great. Glad you're still here, bud.
Yep. All right, Egwene.
Yeah.
Need to stop.
She's this, so she says this, and Aram's all whatever, Aram. But Aram's grandmother, Isla, is kind of like starting to keep an eye on this, and I took it as it coming across as her starting to worry.
Right. Well, the whole time they're like, oh, that boy's troubled. Like that boy has issues, kind of like the way of the leaf doesn't rest easily on him, stuff like that. And yeah, you kind of get some glimmers that maybe not every single thing is super happy.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. So this is the one with the dancing and Perrin. And this is why, like, to me, it was weird in the show to make him married, because this is the scene where in this chapter where you're like, oh, like he is super uncomfortable around girls and has no idea what's going on and wants to talk to Rand. I mean, he knows what's going on, but he wants to talk to Rand about how to maneuver the situation, and he can't. So it's that internal monologue that Perrin you only get in the books, we don't see in the show.
That's true.
It's all here. We also, so in the show, I can't remember if it was episode 4 or episode 3 or not, where Perrin had the dream about Balsamon. That happens in this chapter. That is this chapter, and it's cool because so Perrin has this dream about Balsamon, and the wolves are in it, I believe, or a wolf is in it. Doesn't matter. He wakes up, he's all like freaked out, and Elias actually wakes him up because the wolves are freaking out. And Elias is saying the wolves are having like this sensation is the word that he uses, I believe, of burning and being in pain, which, like, in Perrin's dream, I'm pretty sure there was fire, if I remember correctly. But I'm guessing like it's just that wolf brother link coming in again, and they're like whatever he's experiencing in his dream, they're experiencing through him.
Sounds likely,
right? Because he shuts them out after this. He realizes that he can shut them out of he like pushes them out of his brain and realizes that he could do it, so he does it.
Okay, and that's a good insight. I think I skipped the Baalzamon chapter because I get bored with them, but
that's fair. I'm not allowed to skip them yet, so
fair. Well, yeah. You're not.
Yeah. So that's it, and then they basically decide. It comes across as they're going to go their separate ways. The traveling people, the tinkerers they're leaving right away. Everything's all in a hurry, and they're going to go look for a steading. And Elias, Perrin, and Egwene go on their own way. And this is probably one of my favorite ways the chapter ends. They're just like talking. When Egwene was saying bye to Isla, and she lets Perrin know because Perrin asks what they were talking about, and she says something along the lines of Isla telling her things about, basically essentially giving her advice on how to be a woman and teaching her about being a woman. And Perrin makes a remark that men don't tell each other how to be men. And she it's so sad. It's so Egwene and sassy. She just makes this offhanded comment about, well, maybe that's why men are so bad at it,
right?
And then the chapter's done. Like, that's it. Elias is laughing at this, and it's just full of sass, and it's a nice little bow to wrap up the chapter.
Yeah, she's like, she's like, I'm being foolish, but I just thought I'd make sure that I'm acting foolishly, but I just wanted to make sure that I put you down one more time, just for fun.
Right.
Aaron.
Right. Exactly.
We women, we're superior. We're better.
Well, I mean, shouldn't say it quite like that.
Though Though I will say, like, Perrin does, like, he's like, men don't need that. Like, they don't need to talk about that. Like, which is like false. You really do benefit from being able to discuss things with other people. Like,
yeah,
it's just him being, it's him being dumb and her being dumb as well. Being dumb back.
Being dumb back. It still made me laugh.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets mentioned. Yeah, and those are the two chapters.
All right. So is your Mac?
I can't tell. Okay. I'm torn between and okay, so this actually, I don't think this counts. I was going to say maybe the boat dude that I can't remember his name that runs his mouth in the inn. But then I'm like, it's not really annoying. Like, it is annoying, but it's not
Yeah. Well, plus he's not a main character anyways. Like, he's a plot device is what he is.
You're telling me I have to pick main characters? In our first episode, you were talking about picking the little kid that's like running around being annoying.
I know, but the rules have changed. I've altered the rules. Pray I don't alter them further.
Oh man. Okay, so then I think I'm gonna say it's either Aram or Egwene. I think.
Okay. Why?
I mean, I just don't like Aram.
Yeah.
Like, he's just super, he gives me a lot of skeezy vibes and I don't like it. Especially in this chapter. Ugh. Gross. But then also Egwene's being foolish in this chapter again. So, I mean, she doesn't stay with them. I think that was one of the biggest fears that Perrin had, was that Egwene was going to stay with the Tinkerers.
Right.
And she doesn't. So I guess that is a bonus. But can I say Aram again?
Sure. If we said him last time, I guess we could just keep putting him on there. You know, he's way more important than plot device, dark friend accuser, I think. So
it's him, or it's a toss up between him and Egwene.
It's fair. Yeah. Matt is almost bad enough here. Like, he's all paranoid and stuff. We'll have plenty of opportunity to downvote him though. So I'll jump on the Aram boat as well.
Yeah.
Screw that guy.
He's just very, I don't know what the word is, but does he stick around? Obviously, if he's more than a plot device.
He enters the story later in later books. We'll just say that.
Lame.
Why?
I don't want him to enter the story later. I want him to go away.
You should be satisfied at some point then.
Oh. All right. Cool. I'm looking forward to being satisfied by that.
It'll take a while.
Oh man. Yeah. Anything else? I think that's pretty much it.
I think so. I think we're done. Done, son.
We're done. Nice.
Yeah. Episode 5 coming out in a couple days. We'll do our reaction video for that.
Yeah, that'll be, I guess in 2 or 3 days.
Should be good.
Yeah, I'm excited. Maybe we'll see Loyal.
Yeah, hopefully we don't see the awful version.
Yeah, that's bad.
But yeah.
All right. So that's it. Like we said, we'll see. I guess we'll hear from you. Whatever. We'll record another episode in 2 days when we do our episode recap, episode 5 recap. Yeah. Another shameless plug for follows on Podbean so that we can get into that top little slot there would be awesome. Comments, reviews, join the Discord server, subscribe on YouTube, do all the things. And that's it. So thank you guys for listening. And Adam, everybody, may you always find water and shade.